All right, let's dive right into the world of data science. If you've ever been curious about how computers can actually learn from data, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to be using Python, which is pretty much the #1 language for this stuff, to build your first real set of skills. Let's get into it.
You know, this quote from way back in 1959 really nails what we're trying to do here. Instead of giving a computer a super rigid, step-by-step list of instructions, we're basically teaching it how to learn on its own, just by looking at data. It's a huge idea, and it's behind everything from recognizing patterns to making really complex predictions. And honestly, Python is the perfect partner to bring that idea to life.
So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with why Python is such a big deal for data science. Then, we'll get your own setup ready to roll. After that, we'll get into the essential Python tools, grab some real-world data, and build our very first mini project. And finally, we'll look at what's coming up next on your journey.
Okay, so first things first, why Python? Out of all the languages out there, why has this one become the top choice for data science? Well, the funny thing is, it wasn't even designed for data analysis at first. Its real power comes from this massive, ever-growing ecosystem of specialized tools that other people have built on top of it.
Think of Python itself as the workshop. The real magic comes from these incredible power tools inside it. NumPy, for instance, is like your precision tool for handling huge arrays of numbers super efficiently. Pandas is your ultimate organization system. It lets you manage data in clean tables, kind of like a spreadsheet on steroids. Matplotlib is your art department for creating all sorts of graphs and charts. And scikit-learn? That's the advanced robotics kit, packed with powerful machine learning algorithms. We'll be using some of these very, very soon.
All right, let's get your workspace set up. Now don't worry, this is way easier than it might sound, and the best part is you really only have to do it once.
It's really just 3 quick steps. First, you'll want to install a Python distribution. I'd really recommend Anaconda because it bundles all the tools we're going to need right out of the box. Once that's installed, just open up your computer's terminal or command prompt. Finally, you just type Jupyter Notebook and hit enter. Yep, that's it.
And once you do that, a new tab should pop up in your web browser that looks something like this. This is the Jupyter dashboard. To get coding, you'll just click that New button and then select Python 3. And that's it. You've just created your first notebook, which is this amazing interactive place where you can write code, see the results, and even take notes, all in one spot.
Okay, so you've got your notebook open. Now what do you actually type in there? Let's go over the absolute must-know core Python tools that you'll be using all the time when you're working with data.
So for the most part, you'll be using 2 main ways to hold on to your data: lists and dictionaries. A list is pretty much what it sounds like a shopping list. The items are in a specific order, and you can change them whenever you want. A dictionary, on the other hand, is more like a contact list in your phone. Each piece of information, the value, is stored with a specific label or a key. This is perfect for when your data has labels, like a product name and its price.
So, you've got all this data stored in a list. How do you actually do anything with it? Well, meet your new best friend, the for loop. A for loop is an absolute workhorse. It lets you go through your collection, one item at a time, and do something with each one. This is pretty much the main way you'll process your data.
You know how sometimes you find yourself writing the same few lines of code over and over again? Well, that's your signal that you need a function. A function is just a reusable block of code that you build once, give it a name, and then you can call it whenever you need it. It's the absolute key to writing clean and efficient code that you don't have to repeat.
Okay, enough with the theory. Let's get to the really fun part, working with actual data. We're now going to pull a standard data file, a CSV file, right into our Python environment.
And this right here is where Python's libraries just feel like magic. With just 2 lines of code, using that Pandas library we mentioned, you can load an entire data file. All the hard work, opening the file, reading it line by line, figuring out the structure, it all happens for you behind the scenes. It's incredible.
And as soon as that data is loaded, the very first thing you're almost always going to do is take a quick peek at it using the .head method. This is standard practice for data scientists. It just shows you the first 5 rows so you can immediately see if it loaded correctly and get a feel for what your columns and data actually look like.
All right, it's time to put all of this together. We've got our tools, we know the basic commands, and we've loaded some real data. So now we're going to use everything we've just learned to analyze this sales data from start to finish. Every good project starts with a question, right? For this one, we have 2 simple questions we want to answer. First, what's our total revenue from all these sales? And second, which product is our best seller?
So here's our plan of attack. We'll start a total revenue counter at 0. Then we'll loop through every single sale in our data. Inside that loop, we'll multiply the quantity by the price to get the revenue for that sale and add it to our running total. At the same time, we'll use a dictionary to keep a tally of how many times we see each product. See, we're using all the concepts we just talked about: variables, loops, and dictionaries to get our answers. And after running that code, boom! Here are the results. With just a handful of code, we've turned a raw data file into actual valuable insights. We know our total revenue, and we've pinpointed our best-selling product. This is what data analysis is all about, turning messy numbers into clear, actionable answers.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground in a really short amount of time. You've basically gone from a blank slate to completing a full data analysis. Let's just quickly recap what you've accomplished and what you can do now.
I mean, think about it. In just the last few minutes, you've learned a complete set of foundational skills. You can set up your own environment, you can organize and process data using loops and functions, and you can take a project all the way from a raw file to a final answer. You now have the basic workflow for pretty much any data science task. That's huge.
So far, we've been looking at past data to understand what's already happened. But what if we could use that exact same data to predict the future? What if we could forecast what's coming next? Well, that's where machine learning really kicks in.
And your very next step is to master the tools that will make all of this even faster and more powerful. In our next explainer, we are going to dive deep into NumPy and Pandas, two of the most important libraries in all of data science. I can't wait to see you there.